Join us September 7th and September 10th. The Canadian men's national team back in action against CONCACAF rivals USA and Mexico. Jesse Marsh was at tonight's game at BMO Field between Toronto and Phonzie. Was taking in the action, so our Oliver Platt caught up with the head coach of the men's national team.
Jesse, another international window around the corner. How excited are you just to build on that foundation that you laid down at Copa America?
Yeah, excited. It's been a little bit too long a time, but the guys I think have been performing well with their clubs. And, you know, we'll be ready for, I think, two important matches against the U.S. and Mexico. Won't be easy, but we're excited.
Is winning important in this window, or do you look at it more as an opportunity to assess and experiment and prepare for Nations League?
Yeah, I think it'll be, obviously they're friendlies, but even when you look at the CONCACAF rankings and FIFA rankings, it's important for us even looking forward to November and what opponent we might draw to get into the semifinal of Nations League. So, you know, I think we're going to take these matches very seriously and be ready to put our best foot forward.
Two new faces in the group, and Stephen Afrifa and Nico Sigur. What did you like about them early on in their careers that convinced you they're ready for the senior team?
Yeah, I think they're both young and talented players that fit the way that I want the team to play. So I'm really excited to get both of them in. And then Sam Adekugbe didn't get a chance because he wasn't healthy to be at Copa America with us. So it'll be important to get him as part of our process and for me to get to know him up and close and personal.
And looking a bit further ahead, here in October at BMO Field for the first time, how much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, look, it'll be 10 games will I've coached the national team and not been on Canadian soil. So it'll be really important for us, I think, to get home in front of our fans. If we can put two good performances together in this next window, then I think everybody will be really excited for seeing the team up close and personal in October.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Jesse.
All right, thank you.
So here's a look at the roster that was announced for these two friendlies. Jonathan Sigur, the goalkeeper, will be getting the call in. Sam Adekugbe, yes, who's been dealing with injuries, he's back in as well. Once again, we're going to see Matthew Choinière. Nico Sigur, there's a new name, and Stephen Afrifa as well. So there's a lot of players here that we can talk about. But I want to start things off with a name that's pretty common. And that's Jonathan David. This is a player I feel like we're having this conversation a lot. It's like every window. Is he going to move on from Lille? Is he good enough to move on? Should he be playing with tougher competitions, bigger leagues? This is a guy who we know can score. Where is he at right now in his career?
It's a great question. He's in great form playing for Lille right now. They're just a step away from qualifying for the Champions League. The issue is, we all thought, like you said, that Jonathan David was going to move club this summer. His club indicated that they'd be willing to sell him, and it seems like all indications from his representation that he was prepared to move on as well going into the last year of his contract. Yet he remains. And the question is, why? He scored 59 goals in his last 111 games. Like, he had 43 goal contributions in all competitions last year. He's 24. He turns 25 in January. It's just a player that I'm surprised he's still with Lille. There's been some rumors and speculation as to why. The question is it best for the player and is it best for Canada for him to remain at the club right now? If he's in the Champions League and he's in a comfortable place and he remains a focal point and he's playing week in, week out, then okay. But I just think that there's a little bit of a gap between maybe perception and reality right now when it comes to the player. It's an interesting one for me. I've no doubt he always shows up when he plays for Canada, although I guess 3 goals in his last 12 games. But I have no doubt about his commitment and his effort. He's just at a very interesting juncture of his career.
Well, even Jesse Marsh had admitted that he was having Jonathan David play a little bit of a different role as well as he was getting to know the team, kind of having him fall back a little bit more. We'll wonder if he'll give him a little bit more freedom September 7th and September 10th in those friendlies. Sam Adekugbe is back dealing with injuries, and we know that this is a player, Jordan, who does typically play in that left fullback role, and we know that Jesse Marsh has made it perfectly clear that's where Alphonso Davies plays. He played there, looked great. Oh, yeah, I heard a little for now. So let me ask you this. With Sam Adekugbe being available, does that change things for Alphonso Davies?
I think it should. I think it could. I think that as a manager, you want options, right? I think that going into Copa and how important those matches were, left back for Alphonso Davies, it seemed perfect. But if you want to sprinkle and mix things up a little bit, specifically that partnership, when Adekugbe and then Davies plays a bit higher as well, there's an understanding between those two and there's chemistry. And that's what you want sometimes on that left side, whether it be the right back or the right winger, to know and interchange. So I think that Jesse Marsch would look at that and really think that it might favor the squad to mix things up and to put Adekugbe there at the left back position.
I think that Canada is a better team when Adekube's at left back and he has that partnership with Davies right in front of him. I mean, the stats bear it. He's had 23 starts for Canada, and Canada have only lost 4 games where Sam Adekugbe started, and he's 42 caps. I mean, when he starts and plays in that position and has that bond with Alphonso Davies, I think it brings out the best of both players. We know that Vanni Sartini is a huge fan of Adekugbe, dealt with a couple injuries this season. Says when fit, Andy, he's one of the top wide players in Major League Soccer. So I think it could be a top 3. Yeah. I think he can be a real force, and that's like a new player coming in because I feel like he hasn't been fully fit for Canada in quite some time, and I want to see what that looks like, you know. I still debate it coming out of Copa America, even though Davies was really solid at that position. I just think he can be spectacular potentially playing elsewhere.
Davies did a shift, but everyone wants to see him play like what he can play to, like his potential. But 2 things that come to mind, 2 words quickly with Adekugbe, is always freshness when he plays, and he's disciplined. He's not going to go forward when it needs to be. You need to play safe. And I think that's a joy to have if you're in that left back position.
I just can't handle it because then we had, what about Schaffelberg? What about Liam Miller? And then Richie Laryea was playing high.
Yeah,
oh, my
problem.
goodness. But here's the thing. A problem that's been solved because we did wonder about center back pairings, and that was quickly solved between Moise Bombito, Derek Cornelius after Copa America. Both of them also moving on from their teams as well. Moise Bombito now with Nice, Derek Cornelius with Marseille, joining Ishmael Kone. How great is it to see those two?
That's what we need.
Yeah.
Just to form that partnership, to get familiar or even more familiar with each other. They've played in big moments. I think now it's just that leadership role from these 2 relatively young players in that spot. And especially with this aggressive, high-pressing system that Canada will play, you need guys that command the space around them. And these games against the United States, against Mexico, are the times to really to hone your craft.
Both these players have moved into really good situations, potentially. Good clubs, both good managers. Nice with Ineos in charge, smart people. Roberto De Zerbi, Marseille, big club for Cornelius. Derek didn't play last weekend. I think it's one that we need to watch because these 2 moves to Ligue 1 for these 2 players are great if they play week in, week out. Canada can't afford to have center backs. It's like, well, he hasn't played in 3 weeks and he's coming into camp, and how fresh and how ready are they? That's why potentially great moves for both players, but we need to see a little bit more how this plays out.
Nico Sigur, so there's a new name. He can represent Croatia, has chosen to represent Canada. Ishmael Kone picked up an ankle injury, so for a lot of people not seeing him there on that list. And Jesse Marsch has made it perfectly clear he wants to try Nico in midfield.
I think it's about a little bit of patience here because the player's anxious to come in. He has a decision to make, whether it's Croatia or Canada. He chooses Canada. He's from Burnaby, BC, but he's played 17 minutes this season. That's it, just dealing with some injury. Last season, he played over 3,000 minutes. Now, the interesting thing is Jesse Marsch today said he wants to play him in midfield and not at right back. Probably feels like he has enough cover with Johnston and Laryea playing there. Central midfield is the soft spot for this Canadian side. How much will he play with no Ishmael Kone this window? I would just be a little patient because Mathieu Chouanière has now gone on. He's going to be playing in Europe with Grasshopper in Switzerland. I think that fans might just need to be a little bit of patience to see if and how this player fits in.
Yeah, give him a sniff. That could be the end of the game. But also, I think it's big just coming into camp, getting a feel for the players that you're going to play with, the coach you're going to play for, the country you're going to play for. And see, he's still 20. He has loads of time. But I think it's great that he's coming into this camp.
Got to win these games?
I'd like to see it.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
Thank you.
They've only won 1 game in 90 minutes under Marsch, even though we really like the way they play and everything that we've seen. I think a win would really provide a statement.
Especially against this competition.